Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2020 Mazda CX-5, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the CURT Class 3 trailer hitch receiver. So I really like this hitch, mainly for a couple of different reasons. The first one being, in my opinion, I think it's going to look pretty good. For the most part, it's going to be completely hidden and kind of just blend into the back of your CX-5. The hitch is also going to be really versatile. Since it has this 2" by 2" opening, it's going to work with a ton of different types of accessories. And since it is a Class 3, it's also going to be able to do some towing if that's what you need it for. The hitch is going to have a reinforced collar for extra strength, and I think it looks pretty good too. It's going to have the standard 5/8 pinhole. Now keep in mind, a pin and clip does not come included, but if you need one, you can pick it up here at eTrailer. We're going to have loop style safety chain openings, which are really thick, and for me that'd give me a little more peace of mind knowing that if an accident did happen, these are going to keep us secure. And they're going to be large enough to use just about any size hook that you might have. As far as the weight capacities go, the hitch is going to have a 600-pound maximum gross tongue weight rating, and so that's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. That's a pretty high number, so you shouldn't have any issues using just about any size bike rack or cargo carrier that you'd want to. As far as the maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, it's going to be 4,000 pounds. That's going to be the amount of weight that's pulling on the hitch. So that's the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. Now I do always like to recommend, it's never a bad idea to check with your CX-5's owner's manual to make sure your Mazda can pull that much weight safely. And if you do plan on doing a little bit of towing, I would recommend picking up some trailer wiring. That way the lights on your trailer will match up with the lights on the back of your Mazda and you'll be safe and legal. Now what we can do is take a few measurements to see what type of accessories will work best. If we measure from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of our rear bumper, it's going to be right about 4 inches. And you can use that measurement to figure out exactly that if any folding accessories you might have can be stored in that upright position without contacting the bumper. Now if we measure from the ground to the top inside edge of our receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 13.5 inches. So if you do plan on doing some towing, chances are pretty good you're going to need to get a ball mount with a rise. And if you do plan on using your hitch to carry a bike rack, the one that I've had experience with that pairs up nicely with our hitch and our CX-5 is the Thule Hitching Post Pro. But at the end of the day, a hitch you really can't go wrong with. Not only is it going to look pretty good, but it's going to be able to handle just about anything you throw at it. Now as far as the installation goes, even though it is completely hidden, for the most part it's really not going to be too bad. Everything's relatively easy to get to and straightforward. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and put it on together now. To begin our install, we're going to be working underneath the back of our Mazda, and the first thing that we're going to have to do is remove this small plastic trim panel here. It's going to be held in place by 2 pushpin style fasteners just like this. We're going to have one on each side. To get those out, you can take a flathead screwdriver, pry underneath the head of it, and then you're able to pull that base out completely. Do the same thing for this one over here. And it looks like if we kind of bend it towards us, there's also going to be a small little clip in there. So you can take your screwdriver and just kind of pry it towards the back of our vehicle, like that. And that will allow us to completely lower it so we can set it off to the side. Now we are going to need to lower our exhaust to give us some more room to work, but what I like to do is take a strap and just kind of run it from side to side. That way the exhaust will have a little bit of support and we're going to be able to kind of control how much and how fast we lower it down. We're going to have 2 rubber isolator hangers just like this on each side of our muffler, and those are going to need to be removed because that's what's actually holding our exhaust up. So to make it a little easier, you can spray them down with some soapy water or some lubricant, and that'll just allow it to ease off a little bit better. But the way we get them off, you could take a pry bar or a big flathead screwdriver and just kind of pry one end of the hanger off of the metal portion there. Once I have this one off, I'll go to the other side of our muffler and do the same thing. Once we have them removed from the hangers, we can loosen up our strap a little bit and lower the exhaust zone. Now if we look up at our frame rail, on the side of it, we're going to have a little electrical wire with a plastic connector attached to the frame. What we're going to do is just pop that connector out and out of the way. That way we don't have to worry about it interfering with our hitch when we go to put it up. Just take a screwdriver and pop it out. Now from this point on, anything we do to this side of the vehicle, we're also going to do to the other side because it'll be set up the exact same way. And if we follow our wiring towards the front a little bit, we're also going to have another plastic clip that we'll take out as well. If we look on the side of our frame rail, we're going to have a little piece of tape here that's covering up a hole that we'll eventually use as an attachment point. So we need to get that tape out of the way. So you just take a scraper or a flathead screwdriver, something like that. Just kind of work that tape off of the frame rail. Once that's out of the way, if the bottom or side of your frame rail here have this sealer on it, and if it's laid on there thick like this is, we are going to need to get it down to the bare metal. That way it won't interfere with the hitch. So again, you can just take your scraper and just work that sealer off until it's nice and clean. Sometimes the sealer can be a little tough to get off. And what I found is just to try a handful of different tools. And it seems sometimes one will work a little bit better than the other. In this case, I found this little trim panel tool. Does the job pretty good. Now to get our hardware into this attachment point, what you're going to do is take the coiled end of your pole wire, feed it through that smaller hole here in the side. We're going to drop it out of this larger hole here on the bottom of our frame rail. What we're going to do is take a spacer block, put that over the pole wire, and a carriage bolt. We're going to thread that carriage bolt onto the pole wire. Then we can feed the hardware up into the frame rail and kind of pull on that bolt to get it to come out. So now that we verified the hardware comes through properly, what I'm going to do is just barely push that bolt right back inside of the frame. That way when we go to put our hitch up, it's not going to interfere. Our other attachment point is going to be right here underneath this piece of tape again. Pretty much the same setup as the other one. We'll just get that tape removed. And again, if you have any undercoating or sealer along this portion of the frame, we're going to have to scrape it clean. This area looks pretty clean for me in my case, but right here along this lip, there is some sealer, so I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. Now, even though this attachment point was protected by tape, I do recommend taking a bristle brush and just cleaning out the threads of that weld nut. That way we can make sure we don't have any dirt or debris in there. Once they're cleaned out, the hardware that we're going to be using once we put our hitch up for this attachment point is a hex bolt and a conical tooth washer. when you put the washer on, you want to make sure that the teeth on it are going to face this way towards the hitch. Now, since our hitch does kind of sit up behind your bumper, I figured it'd give us a little bit more room and make life a little easier if we removed these two push pin fasteners here on the bottom of our fascia. We'll grab a flathead screwdriver and pry those out. And what that's going to do is just allow us to kind of pull back on our fascia a little bit more, making it easier to sneak our hitch up into place. Now we can grab our hitch, and on all four attachment points, or two on each side, what we're going to do is take a flat washer and tape it to the inside portion here. So we're going to line up the hole in the washer with our attachment point. And this will just keep that washer in place, making it a lot easier to get everything installed when we lift our hitch up. And just cut that tape out of the center. That way it doesn't get in the way and our bolt is able to pass through there. Now with an extra set of hands, we can put our hitch into position. We're going to go up and over the exhaust. And you also want to make sure that you go over our wiring. So what we're going to do is line up this hole right here with the hole in our frame. We're going to take our hardware and we want to get each side hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself. Then we can grab the end of our pull wire and run it through this hole in the hitch from the inside out on each side. And then what we're going to have to do is push up on the hitch and pull out on our fascia. That way we can get the hitch raised completely into position. It is a little tight, so you are going to have to kind of work it side to side, a little bit at a time. But eventually we'll be able to pop it right up into place. You can grab your pull wire and feed your carriage bolt through. Once you have it through, you can remove that pull wire. We're going to take a hex nut and get that started hand tight as well. Now that we have all of our hardware in place and hand tight, we can grab a socket and snug it all down. Now we can go ahead and grab a torque wrench and tighten everything down to the amount specified in our instructions. The hitch does come with a couple of zip ties, and I use those to secure our wiring up here on the side of our hitch. That way it stays out of the way. Now at this point we can re-hang our exhaust. So I re-lubricated the hangers, and this time we're just going to push up on the muffler and line everything back up to get it re-secured. Once the exhaust system is supporting itself, we can go ahead and remove our strap. And don't forget to come back underneath your bumper and reinstall your push pin fasteners. Now that little plastic trim piece that we removed earlier will not be getting reinstalled, so that's something you're not going to have to worry about. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Class 3 Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2020 Mazda CX-5.